Wayne Arnold. Presently live in Mount Vernon. I have since 1955. Graduated Central High School in 1950. Car shops, Mount Vernon for about a year. Joined the Air Force, 4 years, 2.5 years of that in Germany. Came home March of 1955. Started to summer school at SIU Carbondale. Took 3 classes, made 2 D's and an E. My priorities was playing fast pitch softball 5 or 6 nights a week, dating Aline Kreider, the lady who I eventually was married to for 57 years, going to school in that order of priority. Decided not to go to college anymore. Went to Peoria. They hired me in Caterpillar, Peoria. 3rd shift in a foundry. If you know what a foundry is in a factory, tough work. I worked 8 hours and went up and said, how do I quit? I was getting GI Bill to go to college and I'm up here doing this. That's nuts. It's crazy. So I started and went the year round till I finished. They did me a favor by giving me a hard job. I learned there's got to be a better way. And I tell my students that here. I said, I know where you're coming from. Been there, done that. So just listen up.
I first got acquainted with Mr. Arnold when I was a student out here, and I started here in 1982, and he was always hanging around the athletic department, and we all got to know him pretty well then. It was a different feeling at that point as a student. We always thought he was kind of the super strict teacher, former military guy, and there were times we actually tried to avoid him a little bit because we thought we might get in trouble. But then I came back here to work about 10 years later and started here in 92 and became a colleague of his teaching, and got to know him in a whole different way as a guy I worked for and worked with in the fitness center. I coached basketball here for 18 years, and he kept the clock for us at all of our home games for all of those years, and continued to do that until this year is the first year he did not do the clock. He decided to give that up. He worked in the fitness center. He taught classes. He was the department chair of the health and PE department when I started here. So I've dealt with him in a lot of ways. I will say one thing: he's a Rend Lake College guy through and through. He's been here, I'm guessing, longer than anybody ever has. Started at Mount Vernon Community College before this campus was built, and he lives and breathes Rend Lake College. He loves this place. He loves everything about it, and I think that it's a better place as a result of Wayne Arnold being here.
But I started my teaching career fall of 1959 at Dahlgren High School. Hamilton County doesn't exist today. And a little side story, 2nd year at Dahlgren, there were 2 students wanted physics. You cannot offer a class for 2 students. And I made a comment that almost got me run out of Dahlgren. I said, this school would be better off to close and go to McLeansboro. In 5 years, it did. They didn't appreciate that. But a small school can't offer courses like that. Dahlgren 3 years, coached basketball, baseball, track, a little track, and got a chance to, my goal in college was to teach at Mount Vernon High School. Thought if I could ever get hired there, I'll retire there. And as I tell my students, you never know what will exist. And it took me 3 years to get to Mount Vernon High School. Once I got there, I was only there 1 year full-time, had a chance to come into Mount Vernon Community College, which is the predecessor to Rend Lake College, and started teaching at Mount Vernon, driver's ed, health, and had a chance to come into Mount Vernon Community College and took it and never regretted it. As I tell people, once I got into the college, I never worked a day in my life. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And I always tell my students, I told my son, I said, when you get out of college, get a job that you thoroughly enjoy. If you don't like it, quit. Get another one. And the second thing, whatever you do, give it 100% effort. And I thoroughly believe that. And if you do that, you'll have a job. And I started in Mount Vernon Community College fall of '63. And here it is, January of 2020, and I'm still here. They're trying to find something I can do. But I said, that's crazy, be at a place that long. And I did give up keeping time at our men and women's basketball games. And this is the first year since I started coaching in fall of '59 that I have not been involved one way or another in a sports team. And people said, do you get tired of it? I said, no, that's not why I quit. Have neuropathy in my right foot, walk with a cane. It's difficult getting up the stairs. Have to go up to my office between games and medicate it and all that stuff, and it's just not worth it.
I've known Wayne Arnold since 1963 when he was a teacher and coach at Mount Vernon Community College, and I was on his basketball team. I had his health class. That's where I met my wife. She sat behind me and wrote me notes in Wayne Arnold's health class. And like I said, he was my coach. Then when I came to Rend Lake College in 1977, then we were colleagues. And he was teaching here, and of course I taught here. And then when I took over as the head softball coach, then Wayne worked for me as my bench coach. So you never know what's going to happen in the future. And Wayne Arnold, true gentleman.
Wayne was an outstanding instructor. I was one of his students as a college freshman taking health education. Many of my classmates were shocked to discover their grades suffer incrementally when a homework assignment had serious points deducted for each spelling, punctuation, or grammatical error it included. This was not an English class, but his standards and expectations were the same. He expected nothing less from his students than their best.
So the first time I met Wayne Arnold was in the classroom in the fall of 1976. He was my health teacher right there in the gymnasium at where the campus is today. And I remember it very vividly. It was up in the northeast classroom, and it was health class. And as I got to know Wayne, Wayne was a very good instructor, very friendly, very student friendly. And as I got to know him, I had found out that he had been the coach, the basketball coach at Dahlgren High School, where I went to high school until it closed. And as we got to talking about that, I found out that one of his best basketball players was my next door neighbor, who was 6'9", I don't know, he was 6'7", probably 6'6", 6'7", Philip Bennett. And we always talked about Philip whenever we got together. I think one of the coolest things about Wayne is just a few weeks ago, I think it was around Christmas, I walked into Walmart at Mount Vernon, and there sat Wayne. And of course, he seen me first and said, "Hey Randy, how you doing?" I said, "Wayne, how's it going?" I immediately walk over to him, shake his hand. He said, "How's your wife, Debbie?" He knew my wife's name. I sat down and talked to him, and I got introduced to more people in Walmart that day. I met, I don't know whether they were former students, but I met more people that day that he knew the names of the people. He introduced me to them. He told me about their family. He knows more people than anybody in this world.
Okay, the two highlights of my career in education. The first one, I was helping Mark Kern, our president, to get information to name the gym after Jim Wall, Hummer. And I went into Mark's office and giving them his information, and he said, while we're doing this, we're going to make a double ceremony out of this. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "While we're naming the gym after the Hummer, we're going to name the fitness center after you." And my response was, "You got to be kidding." I said, "Mark, I was just doing my job." And his response was, "Yeah, right." But the other highlight is when they inducted me into our Sports Hall of Fame. I didn't play here, but I was involved in sports in every aspect for many, many years. And those two things was really humbling to me. It just, as Hummer always said, if you're anywhere long enough, a good thing's going to happen. So, but it did, twice for me. My career is still going, part-time. I'm here 2 days a week. People said, are you still working at Rend Lake? And I said, depends on how you use the word work. So, yes, I spent my time kind of supervise this facility, and it's still fun. I enjoy my relationship and association with the students. But backing up a little bit, when I first came into the college, I was, I guess, 33, 34 years old. And the big adjustment I had to make when I started teaching college, I was having students in my class old enough to be my parents. But I learned to thoroughly enjoy the older students, as they call them, non-traditional students, in class. No inhibitions. And people has asked me, what's the difference in traditional and non-traditional? I never really thought about it. And I thought about it and I said, well, I'll answer that this way. Most often at the end of a class session, this teacher will say, are there any questions? And 9 times out of 10, if there are, it'll be the older student raising the hand, have a question, and the 18-year-old sitting back there and say, I wish the heck he'd shut up so we can get out of here. So, one piece of advice I would give to all teachers, all people, teachers or not, you're influencing people. This has happened to me 2 or 3 times, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of other teachers. Former students come and visit you, and I've had a couple of people say, Mr. Arnold said, you made a comment in class one day, and this could have been 30 years ago, that you had a positive influence on me. I didn't remember saying it. So we've all got to be careful, whether we're teachers, whatever position we are, parents. Be careful what you say and the tone of voice in which you say it. You don't get that tone of voice on an email or texting. It's so important because when you say something, once it leaves your lips, it's out there. And so just be very careful about what you say, because you can have a negative influence on a person. They may interpret it differently than what you meant to say. And so people just be so careful with what you say.
Wayne, quite literally, may have been the #1 advocate for Rend Lake College since its inception. Consider these facts. He attended the first meeting of the RLC Board of Trustees December 20th, 1966, as the Mount Vernon Community College faculty representative. He was the first Warrior baseball coach during his MVCC tenure, and likewise started the RLC Warrior tennis program when he did so in 1975-76. And he is the first to be on campus for 30 years in a variety of so-called part-time capacities. After 55 years, he would be the first to tell you, quote, I was just doing my job, end quote.